Alright, I think I'm going here. Ba ba ba. Not sure where it starts. We good? We're good. All right, great. I'd say hello again. Hello, everybody who's not here. Um, for anyone watching later, this is going to be. Sorry for the lateness. It's going to be a quick Thanksgiving episode of a. We're journeying to February of 2004 for some. This would have been some of my initial. So I went down to I went to Baltimore for graduate school in the fall of 2003, and I mean I'm not like I didn't ride the light rail a bunch, but I think this is the first time I went down to the southern tip at Glen Burnie. So the set is named Baltimore Light Rail, but I mean there's a whole bunch of stuff that's not just Baltimore Light Rail on here. I might have been out with some other people. I think some people came in from Philly, so I just hooked up with them. Anyway, we're going to get going here in a second. And I do have another announcement. I don't think I'm going to be streaming tomorrow. Plans have changed. I'm going to be returning to my normal place a day early. So I won't have, and I'm going to some sort of supplementary, not a Thanksgiving related dinner. So I'm not going to have any time to stream afterwards. We'll see. Maybe I'll do it in the early afternoon. But at this point, I'm anticipating not streaming, so I'm not going to be starting a two-parter. I'm going to be finishing on a light one-parter. Again, 2004. But have no fear, I've actually discovered some additional stuff from 2005 I still have to do. So I'll be doing 2004s and 2005s for quite some time. Even if I'm having to, I might have to start splitting some stuff between trips, unfortunately. So, would prefer not to be doing a two-parter tonight, but looks like I'm going to have to. All right. Anyway, I'm tempted to go back and look again. Nah, I shouldn't start a two-parter. You never know. Okay, so let's just see who's around. Say hi to everyone. If you have questions or comments, shout them out. So, hey, remember when we used to get snow? Of course, we should normally get snow in February. Here we just have a bit of a snowy day, showing Baltimore. This is Baltimore Penn Station. For those of you who don't know, Baltimore Penn Station has has tracks numbered up through 7. The old track 1 is now light rail. Let's just go to the diagram here. So let's just say what I'm going to call track 1 is now a light rail line. What is numbered on this one as track 1 is sort of the old track 2. That's freight bypass on a low level platform that doesn't actually come up to the platform. Track 3 is a low level platform, but is now no longer used. Used to be used by some MARC and Amtrak trains. It is now out of service. Might be rebuilt. On this diagram, track number 4 is a high level platform. That is basically the alternate through track. If Amtrak has to pass someone or whatever, it uses that. That's a contingency track, or some MARC trains again start from there. Track number 5, not pictured on this diagram because it was built in sometime in the 90s. That's the MARC stub track for terminating MARC services. Track number 6 is for northbound Northeast Amtrak travel. And track number 7 is southbound. Track F on this is a storage track, again used by MARC trains. They jam them in there nose to tail. As their primary where stuff gets stored, and stuff is also stored on 3 track. So as you can see here, when this was Baltimore Penn Station, the whole complex was controlled by 2 towers, B&P Junction on one end, on the north end, and Union Junction on the other. Or no, it's the other way around. B&B Junction on the south end and Union Junction on the other. This was a typical PRR slow speed terminal. Almost everything was at 15 mile an hour. Lots of double slip switches. Amtrak basically came through with two new interlockings, Paul and Charles, for St. Paul Street and Charles Street. 40 mile an hour through speeds. They bammed out a lot of the crap. So just in case anyone cares, that's the story of Baltimore Penn Station and why it's so dramatically different from videos you might see in the 80s and what it is today. Quite a lot of rationalization, and I think that took place in the late 80s or early 90s. Anyway, that sets us up for this cantilever signal. That sort of Amtrak I-beam type you see on the southern NEC, and even to the north to some degree. But the Baltimore Penn Station has a lot of pedestal signals on these cantilevers. Track 7 has the also distinction of having a part of the platform within interlocking limits, even though not a lot. It's only the F track is used only for storage. This creates an issue where if trains are crossing over, if they're single tracking south of the station, trains would have to hold short of this signal. PTC or the access is now causing that to trains will now no longer be even able to so a train could platform short, but now with the access you're running into issues with the train can't even get on the platform if there's a stop signal here. What is this? Sorry, I need to get that back going again. At the 7S or at the 7S signal. Although another interesting thing is that there's an intermediate signal at Charles halfway down. So if you pass this over the crossover, you get another signal protecting both the tunnel mouth, another crossover, and the industrial tracks. So if you have a stop signal leading into the B&P tunnels, you'd have a slow approach at the 7SA signal, which is the intermediate home, resulting in an approach slow here at the 7S. So it's one of the places you can see routinely see approach slow on a pedestal. So that's the long way to describe why there's an approach slow on this pedestal. I should go in and see if I probably already labeled this, but I'm going to go and check. That's interesting. Going to go back a little bit. Trying to figure out Alton. Boston line. Oh, what's going on? Oh, it's the wrong way around. Should have done this ahead of time. There's 2005, going backwards. Greenbelt. Here we go. I think. If it will load, come on. Nope. That's not it. Where the heck am I? Oh well, hold on. Let me just go sort. Let me just cut through all of those. Yeah, here's that 7SA signal I was mentioning. And the 7S, of course, with clear, more clear. There's an approach slow. I'll find it in a second. Unless I was probably not using the right naming convention back in 2004. I'll know it when I see the picture. Although I probably... There it is. With a bad crop job. Ugh, that's a terrible name there. So, gonna just rename that. Sorry for that delay. See who's around in the chat. Not many people. But, alright, here we go. Upward and onwards. Just a... probably should have said the... This would be the southbound cantilever. There we go. And again, just another thing of the signals there. Hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving. Today is, like I said, today is Thanksgiving. Huh. That's really strange. I cut that first one, so I'm going to need to change this name again. Who knows what I even did with that first picture. I probably cut it because it looked a little blurry. But I've included far worse. There we go. Moving along here at Penn Station, we have Amtrak AM7 number 953. Something's up with those numbers. They don't look quite right. I'm wondering. I gotta look at some other ones to see if, because the original ones had some slightly different number boards depending on the unit. 953 is the last of the AM7s, purchased as a supplementary order along with the SEPTA ones in 1988, 87, 88, 89. By that point, Bud was out of business. So Amtrak had to get the body shells had to be sourced from another vendor. I think the South America or Spain. So I think this one was just Amtrak 953. Man, it was easy when I first had my camera. I didn't. It was only after I realized that it was starting to run into collisions that I had to be more specific in my naming. So now it's number and location. That tends to avoid collisions. Oh. No, so here we go. No idea what one this is. In fact, I'm just gonna should cut this, but I'm not. And here on the other side, although this was 2019, I probably could go and look up what the current train set assignments are, because the Acela Power cars are paired in a way that you can go look up what if you know one on one end, you know what the other end is. But I'm gonna just have to make the assumption that was probably different in 2004. So I won't make that assumption. Here, of course, we have the MARC AEM7s, which I assume got retired, but I have no idea. They were sort of on again, off again, where they were there, then they were retired, and then they were back, and then they were back only briefly. I still don't know what's up with it. The unmatching number boards couldn't have helped. They had 4, 9,000, 9,000, 9,000 through 9,003. This was the class. I think they had 4. Searching for AEM7 would let me know what the dealio was. Yeah, they had 4. So, and here we have a rear view of it. Yeah, I don't know why MARC these weren't running as more reliably as they probably should have. What the heck? Looks like he was pulling right in. By the way, he was pulling in. This train was pulling right in on the 5 track that isn't present on the diagram. For anyone who hasn't been to Baltimore. So now we're actually doing some Baltimore light rail stuff. This was taken at Glen Burnie, which is the terminus, southern terminus of the line. In theory, the right-of-way is intact down to Annapolis, but it's become a biking trail. And no matter how much people say it's rail banked, once something becomes a trail, it's unlikely to become a transit line again. Although, who knows what with, you never know what the future might hold in terms of energy policy and transit and stuff. But anyway, today it's a 2-track terminal. But Baltimore Light Rail, like I said, was always built fairly. Unlike today's light rail systems, it was built very efficiently. So the terminal at the end here, you have trains to the pull in. There's a spring switch. There are some spring switch tail tracks. It cut down the frequencies, but and that's ultimately why they had to sort of expand it. But it was low cost when they got it started. It's called the Cromwell Station. I think it's pretty much in Glen Burnie, Maryland. This went from that snowstorm day to this really, really nice day. This is also on the old service pattern, which was pretty useless. Hunt Valley trains would go to the airport, and Penn Station trains would go to Cromwell. So basically, no one could go anywhere they really wanted to go. I've heard that at some point when the old scheduler retired, there was a rail. I'm not sure if he applied from externally or is already in the Maryland MTA. He applied for the job, got it by default, and then actually started making some useful changes. the scheduling had always been seen as sort of a pointless and just sort of like almost like akin to a patronage job. The guy just didn't really do any. The guy who had it didn't do anything. So this person, I think he was the one who used to run the Monumental City Baltimore website. He is really the reason why you have the Penn Station to Camden sort of short hop, and then you have the airport to Timonium, and then Cromwell all the way to Hunt Valley to have three distinct service zones. So the most popular gets the best, 3 headways an hour, and the outer ones get 1 headway an hour. Here we have, here's a fixed restricting color position light, although I do not believe it actually lights up I'd be surprised if it lights up anymore. I'd be surprised if it lit up back in 2004. It's on the South Baltimore Industrial Track, and it's the fixed distance for Carroll interlocking. This is the track that heads off to the south there. The building next to it is now a brownfield. I'm not sure what was there. Hold on. Let me. I can find out what was there. Easy enough. This is directly adjacent to the Westport Light Rail Station. I believe it's a glass factory. And whether it was or some people say it was a gas works. Other people say it was a glass factory. Okay. Oh, cool. Some guy had pictures of it mid-demolition. See if I can pull those up. So pretty sure it was a glass company, and now it's a Superfund site, or it's capped or whatever. There's a lot of industry down there. Even since I've been, was there, it's just gotten zapped. There's a power plant down there in Westport. The glass company, etc., etc. But anyway, what used to be this sort of like, hey, there's a position light next to that building. Now it's like, hey, there's a position light next to that field. Let's see what we can see on this. Let's see if this. That's cool. I'm gonna put that link in the chat if anyone wants to check it out. So you guys can check that out your stuff. I'm not sure what I think. It's tough to when you have these fixed distance. I don't want to cut any part of this photo. I mean, I really don't want to cut much of it because the glass works here is kind of an important part. But I don't need to have this stuff over here on the side. If anyone cares, wait, what was I saying? It's tough to sort of label these because they don't really have a number. I don't really feel like doing it by milepost because they're usually on an industrial track. So I just usually associate this sort of artifact with the what the heck? Oh wait, that's the problem. It's too much. I usually associate it with the interlocking in question. Not in a good position to hunt down when I'm calling this stuff. All right, that's it for the first set of 3. Here we see the target of the B&O CPL for the distant. Next, again, just the upper part of the signal. It's funny, is decrepit this look. I remember back then I was like, oh, I better get some photos of that before it goes away or replaced or knocked down. And 15 years later, this is the only one that's left, and everything else that was newer and in better shape was zapped. So, go figure. You try to call it, you're going to be wrong. I do believe it is midnight-ish. Work a little faster here. I hope everybody's been enjoying this streaming season. I will return for the Christmas period in about 3 or 4 weeks. That's going to involve at least streams on the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and 25th. Possibly a stream on the 21st as well. It all depends on what's going up, depending on rides and things. But that's all subject to change. There should not be any ones between now and then, however. Ugh. It's a bad photo. At least able to clean it up a little bit. Still had a battery box. Given the fact that this did not have any sort of external power feed, I would not be surprised if when this was lit, it was lit solely from batteries. If they went in and dropped in some LEDs, they probably wouldn't be able to they wouldn't probably need to be able to even need to change the batteries that much. One of the other things I was thinking of doing, at some point it's going to be coming up, is my visit to Clifford Interlocking in 2004. That's also a short one. Here we are. Now, this, I believe that both that and this were involved with a trip with some South Jersey NRHS chapter members who would come down to do some light rail something or see something. I don't know what they were doing. But we were down near the Camden Yards area. So here we just have some signals in HB Tower. HB Tower being the alternate method for trains on the old B&O main line. There's the Howard Street line back. And these two tracks are the passenger lines to Camden Station. Going ahead, those are MARC only. Those tracks will basically go from the Camden Station through Bailey Interlocking and then merge into the main line at Carroll. If you want to access the main line and also go to Locust Point Yards where MARC Camden line trains are serviced, you take this little shortcut and then go either around the Y or the other way to go to go south to DC. HB Tower was a modern brick-style tower when the station was bigger and stuff, with an NX type machine. Let me see what I was using for towers signaling. Oh, great. Oh, here we go. Ugh. Yeah, I should just rename these. But was I counting them in with the Baltimore Terminal Subdivision? I think I was. Yeah, I was. One of the first times I guess I did that. Should probably go pull up one of my track diagrams to see which parts exactly were HB Tower and which ones were not. My 2005 CSX timetable is not only period appropriate, but also in a searchable PDF format. Come on. We seem to still be having a windstorm going on, which hopefully will cease so I can finish up my raking tomorrow. Come on. Okay, so this is probably going to be, let's see, HB is everything up to those crossovers. And those tracks are actually called Mark 1 and Mark 2. So here we can see Bailey there, with Mark being segregated from the CSX mainline proper. Main 1, Main 2 goes into just singled main. That one last crossover, and then everything else is part of Camden interlocking, not HB Tower. So that's another thing that. So these here, these would have been the oh gosh, where is it? Eastbound dwarf signals. Not sure what that switch number is, but kind of just want to cut that, but I can cut it on this side of it. Cut that in there. Drop this down. Good enough. Yeah, I didn't have this diagram back in the day. I just knew that some of this stuff was HB Tower. Here we again have the Camden signals here. Best they could display is, well, that one can just do stop and restricting. This other one, I guess, can do a medium approach, it looks. Or I'm not sure what has that bottom marker light. I'll cut this guy in a bit. In the background, you can see the various light rail, and that's where the Howard Street Tunnel is, sort of over there somewhere, down in the cut, the entrance to the Howard Street Tunnel. Here we have the main track CPL mast for HB Tower. I have other better photos of this. In 2012, when this was all paved in, I went down and made sure. What do you call it? Interesting. Huh. Cut that exactly right to oh. Yeah, that's. Anyway, what's interesting is that despite how complicated a CPL looks, it's often easier to do a full documentation of a CPL than it is to do like a three-headed, any other three-headed signal. It just sort of breaks down a lot easier. Usually they don't have all the orbitals either. Here we have a CSX SD70M. CSX is not a big user of EMD power, and after jettisoning their SD70 ACEs and their SD60s, this is they have about 125 of these, and it's their only EMD road freight. They are currently getting them rebuilt right now, so that's not a worry that they're going to get rid of them. And they're keeping the original sort of faux F-unit nose, which is nice as well. But when I used to live along the CSX tracks, it was a rare day that you would ever see these guys. These are brand new, by the way. I'm not sure you can tell watching, but that's absolutely brand new. And here we have both of them together. Little backlit, unfortunately, but what can you do? And the rebuilds look just as good as they do today. Oh, that's it for our second set of photos. And our last set here. Huh. Anywho, just want to make sure that I had everything right there. 14 items. See any questions here? Oh, it's Valdor. Hey, Valdor, what the heck are you doing on my stream? You subscribe to my channel? Well, thanks for dropping in. I hope you're still there and watching. I feel like I'm going to see you soon for reasons, for interesting happenstances. Remember back in 2004 was before the G&W revolution. So I'm not sure how much no pumpkin colors in these streams. Continuing. Just we have the there we go. So here we have a just your trailer train in back of 2 signals at HB Tower. Nothing super exciting here. Let me see what I can get on these guys. Not sure which one that is. I think that would be the MARC. Go to the diagram. That would be the MARC 1 dwarf CPL dwarf. Dun, 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 dun. Oopsies. Oh gosh, this is such a pain I'll just call it M1. So let's see, it's westbound, track M1 plus mast. There we go. We'll get to interesting things. Well, I'm not sure how much more interesting stuff there is. It's there's not a ton here. Like I said, this is a shorty today. Swoop. Swoop. I'll put him there. Maybe I'll move it over a little bit, get that rail joint. There's a good cut. Now here we have the 2 eastbound dwarf signals at HB Tower. Ironically, that one on the far side can display an approach medium. Probably for that medium approach at the next dwarf at Camden, so that would be a medium approach. And which then would, I guess, go up to a restricting into the station. I'm not sure what's actually at the station, or was at the station. I haven't my records, but I'm not going to be really digging for that right now. And what crossover is that? That's going to be that's just the Mark 1 to Mark 2 crossover. So I'm not even sure what number switch that is. They're all blown out. I wonder if I have that in other records. If I the 13 switch. Other records do have, or is it the 9W switch? Yay! There you go. Huzzah! So here we have the eastbound CPL dwarfs rear angle plus 9W switch 5F plus points. That is a 5F. I've been there, but it's you can tell it doesn't have the flat bit in front. Doesn't have that motor controller bump out. Here we go again. Remember, this is a 15 mile. Note the speed sign is a 15 mile an hour interlocking, but at least when it was redone in the 90s, See, this is one of those things where logic would dictate if your track speed's only 15 miles an hour, you just put slow speed everything. But I guess since it was a government contract, they went for the gusto. Yeah, someone else is paying. Of course, you can do medium speed. We'll give you medium speed signals. Yeah, PR knew what they were doing in that regard. Just slow speed the heck everything. A lot of times PR didn't even have slow clear. They would just the best you get on everything was slow approach. Some call it cheap, others elegant. The best part here is that I kind of replicated this photo 10 years later, so I can reuse most of that file name. In case anyone was not paying attention, all of this is gone. All of these are replaced by Vader heads, and I don't go down there anymore. Here we have a nice thing. Again, there's an odd bit here at the HB Tower Bailey's Y interface, and incidentally, in case you're wondering, this whole complex, HB Tower and Bailey's Y, were of course controlled from HB Tower. It controlled the whole terminal station complex. But anyway, here we see this is the Bailey signal, which is in the limits of HB Tower. They have overlapping limits. It's also displaying an approach for some reason. I mean, there's an approaching train, which is nice. These are all approach lit, by the way. So this creates a bit of the HB Tower and Bailey signals were always a pain because they'd always be in the same frame, and then I'd have two things to label. So because that's lit up and displaying, I'm going to give it to Bailey. That works. And there's the HB Tower signal. Again, technically inside the limits of Bailey. Don't know how you do that with Form Ds and crap. What's going on over here? Not sure what I should capture in this photo. The signal's a little too far away for it to really matter. I'm just going to capture the curve here. Shrink it in. And that works. Should probably sharpen that a tad. I can sharpen after the resize. I got K to work with. Man, I still got a whole lineup of whatever's here. Is that HB Tower or Lindenthal Street? I can't even tell. Here we have light rail via Baltimore light rail number. God, who knows, because they keep the fonts are small. It's a 50XX. That's some sort of interesting I've heard that that's some sort of interesting telecommunications fiber optic bunker right down there. Not a bunker like a long lines type of bunker, but some sort of It's a very nondescript yet very vitally important sort of telecommunications node. sort of punt on that one because I don't care. So who are these guys? I know who one of those guys are. I want to confirm who the other of those guys are. They in signaling? Because the guy on the left here is Dan Lawrence, and I actually knew him from the sub-chat Rapid Transit forums back all the way into the 90s. Amazingly knowledgeable guy. Well, not even like about Baltimore. He could tell you where every piece of rail that the Baltimore Streetcar Museum salvaged came from. And he had this old-timey voice, and his grandson had spent way too much time around him and sounded just like him. He had like a waxed handlebar mustache and et cetera, et cetera. The problem is that I forget what his thing was. He had like he started exhibiting odd behavioral issues, and it turned out it was an early state. It was a dementia issue, and he eventually died from that about 5, 6, maybe even more years ago. I think the guy on the right is Dave Homer from the South Jersey chapter, although he might be somebody else. He doesn't quite look like him. Nah, I don't know who the heck that is. I gotta figure out who that guy is. I don't think it's Dave Homer. I think these are just two local Baltimore dudes. Anyway, I'm just going to note this down. Oopsies. Oh, I'm saving too high quality. Anyway, Dan Lawrence was a great guy. I always was trying to hook up him down at the museum, but it was one of those things. He was always there, and then suddenly he wasn't there around because he crashed a trolley. I actually saw the trolley he crashed. It was he did a number on it. That was the apparent issue was that he was piloting it in and lost consciousness, despite the fact that there was a dead man handle. He had a little bit of a rear ender. And here we have 15 switch at HP Tower, Camden. I bet this is Camden. I bet I know which switch that is. So even though it's Camden interlocking, it's probably numbered in unison with the HP Tower. Anyway, at some point I went down to the streetcar museum and I asked to see I was in there and it just sort of came up during a tour. Is that where's the thing that Dan? Because I heard it was the way he passed it off, it was like a fender bender. And he crunched the whole side of that thing in. Anyway, the speculation at the time was that he had some sort of low blood sugar because I think he was diabetic, but it was more likely had something to do with the undiagnosed dementia issue. Which is odd definitely for someone in his sort of position because he was not without. My mom got hit with that because partly due to a lack of socialization. So whatever I was doing, I rode all the way to the other end of the light rail. Here is the picture of it at Hunt Valley. I'll tell you something else. The Hunt Valley terminal, which was the site of a dead mall, was sketchy as heck. Oh my God! It was like an empty lot, an abandoned mall, nefarious things going on in the lot. And today you go up there and it is just completely redeveloped and gentrified. You got one of those it's one of those, how do you describe it? They're all over the place. We have 2 lines of stores, parking, a little bit of parking in front of the stores, and then way more parking behind the stores. So it creates this it takes a mall lot, plops a bunch of stores in the mall lot to create a faux main street. But all it is just it creates a bunch of tight turns and makes it tough to actually get to the damn stores. But there's a Panera there and like a Five Guys and all this stuff. And there's a it's either a Wegmans or a Whole Foods. No, I'm almost positive it's a Wegmans up there too. But so what the light rail has not been able to do for Howard Street, which is still full of wig outlets, nothing but wig outlets. It was successful in totally changing the Hunt Valley end of things. Including we have these little, again, we have some nice little CPL dwarfs there. These aren't really protecting and interlocking. They're sort of just protected, just for the they govern movements off the tail tracks. Here we have the tail tracks. It was pointed out to me by the trolley people that whenever the streetcar lines would have a terminal, because at least at the time they had a degree of ambition, they would always put a Y terminal on the wire, as in the end of the wire would end, and it would end with two wires jutting out at 45-degree angles to terminate it on side poles. Because if they ever extended the line, then they wouldn't have to remove a pole in the middle of the street or wherever. Here, there's no ambition, so they just dropped the terminal poles right in the middle, right at the end of the tracks. So you can always tell when a light rail line has a capacity, a mindset to expand. The Hunt Valley, oh man, now it's going to make me know if it's track 1 or track 2. Come on, don't make me do that. Don't make me do that. I have no idea what the heck track. Probably using the PA. So this is built on the old was built on the old Northern Central alignment for the Pennsylvania Railroads. They probably would have used Pennsylvania Railroad nomenclature, which I can look up by going north with the Northern Central terminated at like Wago or Cly. So if I go to my maps, then I go to my PRR maps, then I go to Cly interlocking. I can see on the Northern Central, I can try to figure out which one was track 1, which one was track 2. No, they don't tell you here. Maybe if I go to York interlocking. And this looks like a Penn Central map, and they don't have multiple ones there. Maybe if I go to Lemo interlocking. This is track 4, so this would be track 1 then. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Although in theory, I think I have some light rail. You know what? This is why I have this thing up here. Nope, I don't need that one. Nope. Wait, what? There we go. I was in the light rail tour. I got a tour of the light rail complex, and I took some pictures of the display screens. So there's a way to determine what is what. Okay, here we have the Timonium. No, this is North Ave. So that's North Ave. There's Mount Royal. Which track is which? Man, they're not telling you. It looks like from this Curtis Bay, Westport, Cherry Hill. Yeah, that's track 1. I'm right. Or am I? Yeah, that'd be track 1. All right, I'm just calling it track 1. Final 2 photos. I'm not sure where these came from because the numbering scheme on them is off. Might not have been my camera. These might be guest photos, but I'm not complaining. Just a quick photo of bell interlocking, which has really fallen under hard times because the roof is pretty much gone. It's got a fence around it and condemned signs. So it's almost certain that Amtrak will have to demolish it. But the question is when, because they demolished Lamoken, and that was in roughly the same condition. Although Bell's a little bit better. But I can find out which exactly these are. Signaling, infrastructure, towers. Who knows? Maybe these are new to me photos. Yep. Looks like these are new photos to new to me, so and our last contestant of the night. I had to have taken this photo, but no, wait, no, this is somebody else. Someone took this and asked me about it. Someone sent this to me about a question, so I'm pretty sure this was also not my photo. But someone captured the old gauntlet track at New Carrollton. This was removed shortly thereafter. It was removed very shortly thereafter because it wasn't there when I was taking horseback riding lessons in later in later in that year. I just forget how you spell New Carrollton, if it has 2 L's and 2 N's or what. Carroll, so it is 2 R's and 2 N's. Oh, 2 L's and 2 R's. Alright, that appears to be it for tonight. Again, sorry for I'm most likely not going to be streaming tomorrow night. If you see a notification, then I am, but if you don't expect one. Plans have changed. Let's just see if we got anything going on the thing here. What, Wegmans? Oh, it is a Wegmans. Arcade, what? It's called Track 1. Yeah, I just did call it Track 1. Hey, sometimes you gotta figure this stuff out, or it's just gonna nag at you. I've had things where I've just sort of thrown in the bucket, and then I come back later, and it causes all sorts of other problems. Like, I'll call it something, and then I'll rely on that information for something else, and then it just snowballs from there. But I think according to those diagrams I have at the light rail facility, it's pretty sure that's Track 1. But I could be wrong. It's a coin flip. Anyway, thank you everybody for enjoying the Thanksgiving special here. I got a lot of good work done. I'll look to get this stuff posted up on the. I'm gonna put it in the chat on my. The photo archives are slowly coming back to life here. I've gotten everything 2006, 7, 8, and 9 are up, and everything after 2016, 17, 18, and to the present, to where I've stopped processing. I just got to get off my butt and do the rest of them. So I'm just going to throw that in the chat. As soon everything, at some point, Google will re-index it, and then all my photos will once again be at the top of every Google search for anything rail related, which was fun for a while. All right, I'm going to hair off and check out my blog posts. I just got another one up, and I'll hopefully have some next week. Next week I'm going to be in Chicago. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. It looks like it's going to be too sunny. If it's sunny, I'm not going to do the Northwest line again. That just results in I already have backlit video. If it's cloudy, I'll consider it. But besides that, I'm not sure exactly what express routes that I have not already done and are plausible, because getting up at 5 a.m. in Chicago is kind of a pain. All right, I'll see you.